What if everything you've been told about building wealth through compounding is completely backwards? Picture this. You've been faithfully saving $150 every month for 10 years, religiously following the start early advice everyone preaches. You check your account expecting to see real money, and there it is, $24,000. After a decade of discipline and sacrifice, you're not even close to financial freedom. Meanwhile, your colleague who started late but put $100,000 to work in just one investment is sitting on nearly $500,000. Same time frame, same market returns, completely different results. Here's what's crazy. The financial gurus have been telling you half the story. Compounding doesn't care how early you start if you're feeding it breadcrumbs. It needs weight. It needs substantial capital to create the kind of wealth that actually changes your life. In the next few minutes, I'll share 10 strategies that flip the script on traditional investing wisdom. Because the truth is, weight beats time every single time. Welcome to the Wealth Mind, where we challenge conventional wisdom with uncomfortable truths. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you think about building wealth. The psychology behind successful investing isn't what the financial industry teaches you. They've convinced you that time is the magic ingredient in wealth building, when the real secret is the weight behind your investment. The difference between building modest wealth and building life-changing wealth isn't measured in years, it's measured in the size of your initial ammunition. These 10 strategies aren't about working harder or cutting more expenses. They're about understanding that substantial capital, even invested later, will outperform small contributions every single time. The wealthy don't think about building wealth over 40 years. They think about creating enough capital for compounding to work its magic in 10. This mindset shift changes everything: your strategy, your timeline, your results, and ultimately your entire financial future. Chapter 1. Building the foundation for real wealth. Strategy 1. Build systems first. Most people approach wealth building completely backwards. They focus on saving harder, working longer hours, and cutting more expenses, essentially trading more of their time for money. But here's the brutal truth. There's a ceiling to how much time you can trade, and you'll hit it long before you hit financial freedom. Two men lived in a village where the only source of water was a distant mountain spring. The first man immediately started carrying buckets of water to sell. Every day he walked the mountain path, filled his buckets, and hauled them back. The harder he worked, the more water he sold. The second man disappeared for months. The villagers mocked him while his competitor was getting rich. But this man wasn't hiding, he was building something extraordinary. A system of aqueducts and water wheels that would channel the spring directly into the village. When he returned, while the first man was still making daily trips up the mountain, growing older and more tired, the second man's water system began flowing. Clean, fresh water poured into the village 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The first man could only work when he was awake and healthy. The second man's system worked while he slept. Every hour you spend trading time for money is an hour you're not building something that works without you. Systems, rental properties, automated businesses, or dividend-paying investments break the ceiling that labor creates. Strategy 2. Protect your capital base. Here's where most people building wealth make a catastrophic error. They get so focused on growing their money that they forget to protect what they're building. Two neighboring kingdoms each discovered vast gold mines. Both extracted the same amount of precious metal each year. The first king stored his gold in simple wooden chests scattered throughout the castle. When raiders came, they easily plundered his treasures. When floods hit, much was swept away. The second king built an impenetrable vault deep underground before he even began mining. He hired trustworthy guards and created systems to track every single coin. When the same disaster struck, his gold remained safe and continued growing. 20 years later, the first king was still struggling to rebuild what he'd lost repeatedly, while the second king had accumulated enough wealth to last generations. Every dollar you lose to unnecessary fees, risky speculation, or preventable setbacks is a dollar that can't compound for your future. A smooth, steady climb compounds exponentially, while a roller coaster of wins and losses keeps you starting over. Chapter 2. Creating unlimited earning potential. Strategy 3. Develop high income skills. The difference between people who stay stuck saving pennies and those who build serious wealth is simple. They understand that your earning ability has no ceiling while your savings account does. Two blacksmiths worked side by side in the same village. The first owned the same basic hammer and anvil his grandfather had used. Every day he worked from dawn to dusk forging simple tools. His income remained the same year after year. The second blacksmith spent evenings learning new techniques. He studied metallurgy, mastered creating intricate jewelry, and learned to work with exotic metals few others could handle. When wealthy merchants came to town, they bypassed the first blacksmith entirely. The second blacksmith could charge 10 times more for a single piece because his skills were rare and valuable. While the first man's income was limited by the hours he could swing a hammer, the second man's earning potential was limitless because his knowledge was irreplaceable. Your most valuable asset isn't your savings account, it's your ability to create value that others will pay for. High-income skills like software development, copywriting, digital marketing, or negotiation can transform your earning power faster than any investment strategy. Someone who masters a valuable skill can often double their income within 12 months, creating more wealth-building capital than years of traditional saving. Strategy 4. Speed run compounding. The biggest lie in personal finance is that wealth building is always a slow, gradual process that takes decades of patience. The wealthy have discovered a completely different path, one that can compress decades of traditional investing into just a handful of years. Two explorers set out to reach the same mountain peak. The first followed the well-worn trail, steady, predictable, safe packing light, and planning to gather supplies along the way. The second explorer studied the mountain differently. Instead of starting with minimal gear, she spent months preparing, saving, and acquiring the best equipment. She hired experienced guides and chartered a helicopter to carry her to an advanced base camp already 2/3 of the way up. While the first explorer was still struggling through the foothills after months of climbing, the second explorer had already reached the summit. Weight beats time. When you can inject substantial capital early in the process, compounding doesn't just work, it rockets forward. Warren Buffett's story proves this perfectly. 99% of his wealth came after age 50 when his capital base had reached critical mass. Chapter 3. Understanding what actually creates wealth. Strategy 5. Why start early fails. The most dangerous piece of financial advice isn't wrong, it's incomplete. Start early has become such gospel that people follow it blindly, never questioning whether their small, steady contributions will actually create meaningful wealth. Two farmers decided to plant orchards. The first, eager to follow conventional wisdom, planted his apple seeds immediately. The earlier I start, the better, he reasoned, scattering small seeds across a modest plot with basic soil and minimal resources. The second farmer seemed to waste precious time. Instead of planting right away, he spent 2 years preparing. He studied the soil, enriched it with nutrients, selected the finest saplings from the best nurseries, and designed an irrigation system. 10 years later, the results were shocking. The first farmer's trees, planted from small seeds in poor conditions, had grown slowly and produced sparse, mediocre fruit. Despite his head start, his orchard barely fed his family. The second farmer's trees, planted later but with superior resources, had exploded into abundance, producing enough fruit to feed the entire village. Time alone doesn't create wealth, time multiplied by substantial capital does. When you start with small amounts, even decades of compounding produce modest results that won't change your life. $150 per month for 10 years becomes $24,000, not exactly financial freedom. Strategy 6. Size matters more than time. The entire financial industry has been misleading you. They've convinced you that time is the magic ingredient when the real secret is the weight behind your investment. Two generals prepared for the same siege, both knowing they had exactly 10 years to capture a fortified city. The first believed in the slow and steady approach. He started immediately with a small army of 100 soldiers, adding 10 more each month. The second general took a completely different approach. For the first 3 years, he didn't attack at all. Instead, he recruited, trained, and equipped a massive army of 10,000 elite warriors. His critics mocked him. "You're wasting precious time." When the second general finally launched his assault in year 4, his massive, well-equipped force overwhelmed the city's defenses in just 6 months. Meanwhile, the first general, despite his 7-year head start, was still chipping away at the walls with his small army. The math is brutal but honest. $100,000 invested at 8% annual returns becomes $466,000 in 20 years without adding another penny. Compare that to $500 monthly for 20 years, which becomes $295,000 despite requiring continuous effort and discipline. Chapter 4. Building substantial investment capital. Strategy 7. Launch microbusinesses. The trap that keeps most people stuck is thinking their salary is their only source of capital. They scrimp and save from their paycheck, never realizing that the fastest path to substantial investment capital isn't cutting expenses, it's creating additional income streams outside their day job entirely. A skilled potter worked in the royal palace, earning a steady wage. His co-workers were content with their reliable paychecks, spending evenings resting after long days. But this potter noticed wealthy merchants paying premium prices for unique pottery. Instead of going home after palace duties, he spent evenings in a small workshop creating distinctive pieces. Within 2 years, his evening pottery business generated more income than his royal position. The extra money became the foundation for his investment portfolio. While his co-workers lived paycheck to paycheck, he was building serious wealth from the capital his micro-business generated. Your day job pays your bills, but your micro-business builds your future. Research shows many people who reach 6-figure investment portfolios early do it by combining main income with side business profits. The side business income becomes pure investment fuel. because it's not tied to survival expenses. Strategy 8. Create large capital sources. Most people assume that building substantial investment capital requires winning the lottery or receiving an inheritance. This limiting belief keeps them trapped in the small money mindset. 3 traders each sought to amass enough gold to purchase a fleet of ships. The first waited hopefully for a rich uncle to die and leave him money. The second saved every copper coin, calculating it would take 30 years to afford even one ship. The third trader took a different approach. She studied trade routes and discovered spices bought in Eastern markets could be sold for triple the price in Western kingdoms. She negotiated with craftsmen to create unique jewelry that commanded premium prices. She partnered with other merchants to pool resources for larger ventures. Within 5 years, through business profits, skill-based bonuses, partnerships, and strategic deals, she had accumulated enough capital to buy not just one ship, but an entire fleet. Large sums don't just appear, they're created through business sales, performance bonuses, real estate profits, skill-based consulting fees, partnership deals, or liquidating assets you built over time. Most people who achieve early financial independence do it by creating 1 or 2 substantial capital events. Chapter 5. Understanding what's really possible. Strategy 9. The dramatic difference. Most people can't grasp just how massive the gap becomes between small, steady investing and large sum compounding. They see numbers on paper, but don't truly understand the life-changing difference until it's too late. 2 brothers inherited identical plots of barren land and decided to race to see who could create the most prosperous farm in 20 years. The first brother followed traditional wisdom. He planted a small vegetable garden immediately and added 1 new row each month. His neighbors praised his consistency. The second brother seemed lazy by comparison. For the first 3 years, his land sat empty while he worked odd jobs, saved money, and learned advanced farming techniques. People mocked him, "Your brother is already 3 years ahead." But when the second brother finally acted, everything changed. He used his accumulated resources to purchase premium livestock, install irrigation systems, plant fruit orchards, and hire experienced workers. His farm didn't grow gradually, it exploded into productivity. 20 years later, the first brother had a modest garden that fed his family and provided small income from surplus vegetables. The second brother owned a thriving agricultural empire that fed the entire region and generated wealth that would last generations. Alex's $100,000 lump sum growing to $466,000 versus Jamie's monthly contributions reaching $295,000 isn't just a mathematical difference, it's the difference between financial security and financial freedom, between having options and being constrained, between legacy, wealth, and modest savings. Strategy 10. Mindset shift required. The biggest obstacle to building substantial wealth isn't lack of knowledge, opportunities, or even money. It's the mental prison that keeps people thinking small, believing wealth must be built one tiny piece at a time. 2 alchemists dedicated their lives to creating gold. The first followed the traditional approach passed down through generations. Every day he performed the same small ritual, transforming tiny amounts of base metals into minute quantities of gold. His teachers had told him this was the only way. Be patient, be consistent, eventually you'll have enough. The second alchemist studied the same ancient text but came to a radically different conclusion. Instead of focusing on daily ritual, he dedicated himself to understanding the fundamental forces that made transformation possible. He sought rare and powerful catalysts, ingredients so potent that a single transformation could yield more gold than years of traditional work. When the city's greatest test came, the results revealed everything. The first alchemist presented his life's work, a modest collection accumulated over 30 years. The second alchemist unveiled a single massive transformation that produced more wealth in one moment than the first had created in 3 decades. The fundamental shift isn't about working harder or starting earlier, it's about thinking bigger. Instead of asking, how can I save more? Start asking, how can I create substantial capital? Instead of focusing on time in the market, focus on weight in the market. 10 strategies that completely flip the script on traditional wealth building advice. The real secret isn't starting early with small amounts, it's building substantial capital that gives compounding the weight it needs to create life-changing results. Remember the sequence: build systems first, protect your base, develop high-income skills, speed up the process, understand why start early fails without capital, focus on size over time, launch micro businesses, create large capital sources, recognize the dramatic difference, and shift your entire mindset. The wealthy don't think about building wealth over 40 years. They think about creating enough capital for compounding to work its magic in 10. This isn't about being reckless or abandoning discipline, it's about understanding that weight beats time every single time. Your homework: pick one strategy from today and commit to it this month. Don't try to transform everything overnight, but do think bigger than you have been. If this perspective opened your eyes to what's possible with substantial capital, subscribe to The Wealth Mind. We decode the uncomfortable truths behind every financial decision. Until then, remember, compounding rewards wait, not just time. Start building yours today.